My name is Kerrie, and my goal is to inspire healing and meaning in all areas of life. In this podcast, we will dive deep into conversations. From heartbreak to freedom, we will explore different self-care modalities, learn to be the best expressions of ourselves, and to live with purpose. I'm here to offer my personal insights and to share my story in hopes that it will guide you on your path. This is Heal with Care, a journey of self-discovery. I vividly remember watching Michael Jackson's Thriller music video and being terrified of the people dressed up as zombies. Around the age of 8, I saw the movie Poltergeist. I remember specifically asking my uncle if this was a scary movie, and he responded with, "Why would it be scary? There are kids in this movie." More than halfway through the movie, my sister was crying and I was terrified, and my dad came to see why we were all upset and realized my uncle had let us watch a horror movie. For most of my childhood, I was terrified of cemeteries. I remember the day we went to visit my mom's dad at a cemetery. I had never met him, but I was so scared to walk around all those tombstones. I asked my mom if she can carry me, but I was probably too heavy for her to carry. So she walked away and left me standing by the car. I didn't want to be left alone in this massive cemetery, so I quickly built the courage to follow her. Eventually, I realized I felt no different than walking anywhere else, and to my relief, no ghost popped out and nothing jumped out to grab me. Because yes, as a child, this was a real fear. And from seeing Thriller and Poltergeist, which kid wouldn't be scared of something supernatural grabbing them at a cemetery? In this episode, I want to share how learning mediumship has positively impacted me in my everyday life. For some, the idea of communicating with spirit might feel a bit out there or even terrifying. But through my experience, I've learned that mediumship is not what I thought. In fact, it feels almost surreal, like an inside joke, something only you can truly understand if you experience it yourself. In one of my earlier episodes, I talk about receiving a message from a medium that completely changed my life. The day I received an unexpected reading from a medium, I was blown away. Her messages were so spot on that I felt seen in that moment, and I was able to release this feeling of stress and loneliness on my journey. Sometimes we just need to receive the right message at the right moment, whether it's validation for what you're currently going through or a fresh perspective offering hope for the future. Later, I learned that anyone could communicate with spirit if they were open to it. I was invited to join a mediumship circle, and at first, I was nervous. I was worried about seeing ghosts. But I was curious enough, and I decided to see what it was all about despite some of my fears. To my surprise, I met some of the loveliest people and formed some really good friendships. As I began to learn how to communicate with spirit, I started seeing images, either symbols or images playing in my mind's eye like a movie, not physically in front of me, but more like my imagination. Sometimes I'd hear voices that sounded like my own thoughts, like when I talked to myself. At other times, I would feel an emotion or a feeling that wasn't mine, or I just knew what to say. All of this was very fascinating for me, like putting pieces of a puzzle together. In the mediumship world, you'll hear terms that refer to how people are communicating with the spirit world, like clairvoyance, which means seeing, clairaudience, which means hearing, clairsentience, which means feeling, and claircognizance, which is just knowing. I remember in my early years of practice, I wanted to know that I was truly connecting with spirit and that I wasn't just imagining it. Through my practice readings, I received honest feedback and validation from the person I was reading for, which really helped me gauge how I was doing and whether what I was saying made any sense. These practice readings allowed me to see how information landed with my sitter and provided me with a safe space to learn how to connect with the spirit world. In the beginning, I was scared to relay messages, fearing I might be wrong, but I've learned that Spirit won't give more information to me unless I relay what they're already sending me. I've had to present everything that Spirit was giving me in order for the messages to flow. And over time, as I learned to hold this connection, I began to receive more specific details. The process allowed me to build courage to trust the information and share it. No matter how silly or insane it might sound to me, I just had to say it. What I learned early on is that these spirit messages aren't for me. They're for the person in front of me. I am just the medium in the middle between the physical world and the spiritual world. This practice helped me to let go of expectations because anything can happen and I never know what spirit will want to share. It also built my confidence and allowed me to see myself as a channel of spirit messages, letting the information flow through me. At one point on my journey, I truly felt I was communicating with my spirit guides. For anyone who isn't familiar with spirit guides, they are helpers on the other side who offer bits of inspiration to guide you along your journey. I would speak to my spirit guides regularly, sometimes out loud when I was driving, or quietly in my head if other people were around. And I would get responses. Occasionally, I'd have full conversations with them. I was asking my guides for more proof, wanting something more tangible to reassure me that what I was doing wasn't just in my head and that I wasn't crazy. One day, I was in my car on my way to work, waiting for the left turn signal to turn green, when suddenly a voice popped into my head and said, "Your access card won't work." I thought to myself, what? I was about 30 seconds from pulling up to the gate where I could scan my access card to get into the parking lot at work. My heart was pounding. When I tried scanning my card, it didn't work. I tried a few more times until I had to buzz security. As I sat there, I was in complete awe, jaw dropped, freaking myself out. Did this just happen? As I drove into the parking lot, I couldn't help but smile. I had just received proof and validation in a matter of seconds. My spirit guides are always present, but there are times when their guidance is loud and clear. Because they sound like my own internal voice, it can sometimes be difficult to differentiate whether it's my guide speaking to me or just my own thoughts. There are moments when I hesitate to follow their guidance, especially when I don't feel ready to carry out certain tasks. For instance, it took me over a year to finally launch this podcast after recording my intro. I had also been inspired to record meditations for years, but didn't take action until recently. The nudges are always there, but in the end, I'm the one who has to decide whether or not to act on them or not. There were other experiences that blew my mind that removed some of the doubt that I was connecting with my spirit guides. Like the time I clearly heard, "Bring your sweater," only to find out that the temperature outside had drastically dropped. And when I felt I was struggling financially and needed a sign that I was going to be okay, I was redirected on my walk only to be led to a $50 bill. These magical moments accumulate over time, forming a collection of experiences that only strengthen my trust and belief that this is real. So, I either experience too many coincidences that I cannot explain, or this is real. You just can't make this stuff up. After receiving so much proof of how my guides were communicating with me, it gave me the confidence to keep practicing the art of mediumship. Whether it's connecting with other people's loved ones on the other side, or just passing on messages from spirit. I knew this was now my passion, and I was dedicated to mastering the art of mediumship. At one point, I focused on connecting with spirits who had passed on, providing evidence to their loved ones that they were still present and watching over them. Through my mediumship practices, I witnessed many healing moments. Many people carry deep grief, and these readings offered comfort and a space for healing, helping them move forward. I came to quickly understand the responsibility of delivering messages to those seeking connection with their loved ones. The weight of this responsibility felt overwhelming for me, so I decided to shift my focus to psychic messages instead. I want to take a moment to share the positive and healing impact that messages from loved ones can have on someone. I attended a live mediumship demonstration with Sean Leonard when he visited Toronto, and the experience was so moving. Sean usually begins by identifying a few spirits and sharing specific details that no one else could possibly know. He then delivers messages from spirit, which I find incredibly healing. For those filled with grief or heartache over a loss, these messages offer hope and comfort, reassuring them that their loved ones are safe on the other side and still watching over them. One particularly touching moment involved a spirit who wanted to let a young girl know how beautiful she was. She struggled to see herself in that light, and her loved ones on the other side were determined to highlight how they viewed her. Her family, who was present during the reading, surrounded her with love and support as she cried and received this healing message. On a lighter note, there was a funny moment with a spirit who had been known for not being able to keep secrets in life. This spirit revealed a pregnancy that had not been shared with anyone in the family. The news left her mom in the audience crying tears of joy, surprised and amused as they realized their aunt in spirit had outed their daughter's pregnancy. These moments highlight the range of emotions and healing that spirit can bring into our lives through mediumship demonstrations or just mediumship in general. For me personally, I had a medium approach me at a mediumship demonstration to bring forward a close friend of mine who had passed. After that reading, I truly felt a weight lifted from my shoulders, a moment where I could finally let go of the guilt that I had carried for not being present for my friend. As life started to pick up, I had decided to take a break from the mediumship practices and to focus on my career, and also I wanted to live my life. A few years later, out of the blue, I heard the words, "You should back up your data." I heard it, but I was so busy that I ignored it. This happened for about 2 months. Every now and then, I kept getting little hints to back up my data on my laptop, but I never got around to doing it. Then one day, out of the blue again, the message changed and I heard, "Your laptop is going to die." I paused for a moment because it was very dramatic, and I thought to myself, no way. That was such a strange and random thing to think. Deep down, I knew when spirit was trying to communicate with me, but it had been a few years since I had acknowledged them. They had always been there, but I was on a mission to focus on enjoying my life. Yet, at the same time, I had this feeling that I should go back up my information. Again, I was too busy and I put it off. And guess what? The next day when I went to turn on my laptop, my computer wouldn't turn on. It was completely dead. I guess you can say I knew I should have backed up my data, but I was too busy to listen to my spirit guides. Instead, I found myself spending hours looking for someone who said that they could fix my laptop and back up my data. For a moment, I had hoped that this was fixable, but deep down, I knew spirit was warning me this whole time to back up my data. So who was I kidding? All this to say, I managed to find someone who could back up my data, and I had to buy a new laptop. Since then, I knew I was being nudged back into the spiritual path with a brand new laptop. I know that when I hear spirit, I have a choice, whether I want to listen or not. This brings me to my next point. We can be guided as much as possible, whether it be by that little voice in our heads or spirit guides or intuition or by the people around us. But we always have a choice. The question is, do we want to listen to that guidance or not? I've realized that often I seek validation for my choices, but sometimes I just need to trust myself and my intuition. And I need to believe that what I'm doing is exactly what I need at that moment in my life. And if things don't work out, that's okay. It's still a very valuable experience. Sometimes I need to go through something to understand that it isn't right for me, even when things don't go as planned. Those moments can really help me grow. Often the situation itself is there to teach me something that I need to learn. The purpose of me sharing these stories is to emphasize the importance of trusting ourselves and our inner guidance. I used to struggle with self-confidence, and I even doubted my ability to make decisions on my own, fearing that I would make the wrong choice. I relied heavily on psychic medium readings to help me navigate life and constantly got second opinions or advice from others, afraid to take responsibility for my final decision. But that's what life is all about, learning through our mistakes and growing from them. I've attempted to launch various businesses based on my different passions, and while those businesses don't succeed, each attempt allowed me to learn something through failure and develop new skills in the process. Every experience taught me something valuable, which is now helping me as I launch Heal with Care. Mediumship has been a major part of my healing journey, guiding me every step of the way and allowing me to believe in myself. Experiences like getting a heads up that my work access card won't be working or being nudged to back up my laptop just before it crashed, proving to me that the voices in my head weren't just random thoughts. They were real guidance, offering validation and trying to help me on my path. Through these experiences, I've come to realize that there's something much greater at work here. And if my spirit guides can make my life easier, why not listen to them? We all have access to this inner guidance. We just have to decide whether or not we're going to listen to it. There may be moments when we ignore our inner voice and take the long way around, or we can choose to listen to the guidance, which to me feels like skipping levels in a video game. We have the power to decide how we live our lives. In some ways, I know I've been guided to share this work with you, and I trust that something meaningful will come of it. Even though I struggle with the patience, I've learned to trust that I'll get there when I'm meant to, but for now, I'll focus on enjoying the journey. Whether mediumship is new to you or you have been on a spiritual path for some time, I encourage you to listen to your intuition and remain open to the wisdom within you. When we hesitate or ignore that inner voice, we often take the long way around, like with my laptop and backing up my data. But when we lean into trust, the universe propels us forward in ways we never expected, like when I was led to a $50 bill. Mediumship has not only allowed me to guide others spiritually, but has also deepened my connection with my guides, empowering me to live a life aligned with the best version of myself. Building that connection with spirit has unlocked so many doors for me, sending me on a journey I could have never imagined. This journey is already happening, and I'm trusting that my spirit team will guide me where I need to go. By sharing my stories, I hope to inspire you to embrace your path, trust your intuition, and have the courage to follow it to unexpected and extraordinary places. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you feel called to, please share this podcast, subscribe to it, and leave a rating and review. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email me at healwithcare@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram at healwithcare. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode.